Football is full of crazy underdog stories, players who went from nothing to superstardom. But what if I told you about a player who went from being a ball boy to scoring on his Champions League debut? Not just making an appearance, not just getting a few minutes, but actually scoring in the Champions League, the biggest club competition in world football. Sounds like a Hollywood script, right? Well, this is the real-life story of Micah Hamilton, a young player who once retrieved balls for football's biggest stars and then became one himself. Let's break it down. From ball boy to the Champions League, who is Micah Hamilton? Alright, let's rewind a few years. Micah Hamilton wasn't always a rising star. He was just another academy kid, dreaming of playing for Manchester City. But unlike most academy players, he had a front row seat to greatness. Why? Because before he was a professional footballer, he was a ball boy for Manchester City. That's right, he wasn't just watching City's biggest games from the stands, he was on the sidelines, literally handing the ball to players like Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland. Imagine that. 1 second you're running to retrieve a loose ball for Riyad Mahrez, and the next you're playing in the exact same stadium, wearing the same shirt as the players you idolized. It's the ultimate dream, and for Micah Hamilton it became reality. But getting there, that was anything but easy. Life in the Manchester City Academy, the hardest club to break into. We need to talk about how insanely difficult it is to make it into Manchester City's first team. Most clubs give their young players a decent chance to prove themselves. But at City, if you're a youth player, your competition isn't just other academy kids, you're competing with some of the best footballers on the planet. You want to play as a winger? Good luck beating out Jack Grealish or Phil Foden. Midfielder? Sorry, but Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva exist. Striker? Yeah, just try taking minutes from Erling Haaland. This is why so many City Academy players never get a chance. They either get sent out on loan for years or they leave permanently, hoping for a chance elsewhere. For Micah Hamilton, it was a waiting game. He trained, he worked hard, and all the while he watched from the sidelines as a ball boy, hoping that one day it would be him out there. And then, one day, his phone rang. The dream call-up. Pep Guardiola gives him a chance. December 2023. Manchester City have already qualified for the next round of the Champions League. Their final group stage game against Red Star Belgrade doesn't matter. For Pep Guardiola, this is the perfect time to give young players a chance. And just like that, Micah Hamilton's life changed forever. He was called up to the first team squad for the game. Now let's just take a second to appreciate how insane this must have felt. Imagine being 20 years old. One day you're handing Pep Guardiola a football as a ball boy. The next day, you're on his squad list for a Champions League match. At this point, Hamilton was probably double-checking his phone, thinking, wait, did Pep just text the wrong Micah? Nope. It was real. He was about to make his professional debut in the biggest club competition in the world. And most academy players? They come on for the last 5 minutes, touch the ball once or twice, and then disappear. But Hamilton wasn't here just to make up the numbers. He was about to make history, a debut to remember, scoring in the Champions League. So there he was, Micah Hamilton, the former ball boy, stepping onto the pitch for his Champions League debut. And within 35 minutes, he did something that millions of footballers dream of. He scored. Let me say that again. On his debut in the Champions League, Micah Hamilton put the ball in the back of the net. That's like playing FIFA for the first time, picking ultimate difficulty, and scoring a hat-trick. And this wasn't some lucky deflection. Hamilton took on a defender, drove into the box, and finished like a player who had been doing this for years. And just like that, his name was in the headlines. From ball boy to goal scorer in the Champions League. Unbelievable. How rare is this? Now, let's put this into perspective. How many players can say they've scored on their Champions League debut? Not many. Even legends like Cristiano Ronaldo and Thierry Henry didn't score in their first Champions League match. Hamilton did it before even making a Premier League appearance. That's like skipping the tutorial and immediately beating the final boss. This wasn't just a goal, this was a statement. What's next for Micah Hamilton? So, now that he's announced himself to the world, what happens next? Is Micah Hamilton going to be a Manchester City regular, rubbing shoulders with the best in the world, scoring week in and week out at the Etihad? Or is this one of those one-hit wonder stories where a young player gets their big moment and then fades away? Well, here's the problem. Manchester City's squad is absolutely stacked. Even world-class players like Phil Foden and Julian Alvarez had to wait years to become starters. Pep Guardiola rotates his team constantly, meaning that even top talent struggle for consistent minutes. And let's be honest, City's transfer budget is unlimited. If they need someone to fill a position, they don't wait for an academy player to develop, they just buy a new superstar. For Micah Hamilton, staying at City would have meant waiting for another chance, and that could have taken years. And that's why, in August 2024, he made a move. Where is Micah Hamilton now? As of March 2025, Micah Hamilton is 21 years old and currently playing for Stockport County on loan from Middlesbrough. Yep, after his incredible Champions League debut, he made the decision to leave Manchester City in search of something every young player craves: regular game time. And let's be real, it's one thing to score on your debut, but if you want a career in professional football, you need to be playing every week. How did he end up at Middlesbrough? August 2024. After realizing that breaking into City's first team was nearly impossible, Hamilton signed a 4-year contract with Middlesbrough, a club competing in the EFL Championship. Why Middlesbrough? Because they promised first-team football, something he never would have gotten at City. It was a move about development, not just status. January 2025, just a few months later, Middlesbrough sent him out on loan to Stockport County, a club competing in League One, to continue his development. Now, some people might hear this and think, wait, he went from scoring in the Champions League to playing in League One. But that's just how football works. The path to the top isn't always straight. Look at Harry Kane. He went on 4 loan spells before becoming a star at Tottenham. Jamie Vardy played non-league football before winning the Premier League. Even Phil Foden had to wait for years before getting regular starts for City. So, while Hamilton's move might seem like a step down, in reality, it's a crucial step forward. He's still young, he's still developing, and most importantly, he's playing football every week. What's his form like at Stockport County? Now, joining a lower league club on loan can be a bit of a reality check for a young player. Gone are the luxury training facilities of Manchester City, gone are the 5-star team buses and first-class travel. Instead, it's gritty, physical football, long bus rides, muddy pitches, and opponents who aren't afraid to put in hard tackles. But for Hamilton, this experience is crucial. Playing against tough, physical defenders, that's how he learns to handle Premier League defenders in the future. Having to fight for his spot every week, that builds character and resilience. Scoring goals and creating chances in a competitive league, that shows Middlesbrough and the world that he's ready for the next step. And let's be honest, if he can prove himself in the rough and tough environment of lower league football, he'll come back stronger, sharper, and even more confident. At 21 years old, he still has plenty of time to reach the highest levels of football. Could he still make it back to the Premier League? Absolutely. Football is unpredictable. One season, you're playing in League One, the next, you're getting called up to the national team. If Hamilton performs well on loan, Middlesbrough will bring him back and give him a bigger role. If he dominates the Championship, bigger clubs will start watching him again. And if he keeps improving, who's to say he won't return to the Premier League in a few years? Remember, football is about patience. Just because a player isn't an instant superstar doesn't mean they won't make it big eventually. Final thoughts, the ultimate football fairy tale. Micah Hamilton's story is what every young footballer dreams of, from being a ball boy to scoring in the Champions League, from watching City stars to playing alongside them, from waiting for his moment to taking it with both hands. Yes, he's currently playing in League One, but that doesn't mean his story is over, it's just another chapter in his journey. So, the big question is, will Micah Hamilton make it back to the Premier League, or will he always be remembered as the ball boy who had one magical night? Let me know what you think in the comments. Either way, he's already made history, and no one can take that away from him.